Hello everyone and welcome to the live stream. I hope that you are all doing well. Welcome. Tonight we are doing another discussion stream and we will be discussing a couple of brand new topics that just happened today. So first I want to discuss EA canceling another open world Star Wars game. Now if you guys do not know, EA over the past couple of years has canceled quite a few Star Wars related games, and they have canceled yet another. I believe that this is the third or fourth Star Wars title that they have canceled in the past 5 years. We are going to obviously discuss Bob Iger stepping down as Disney CEO effective immediately. This just happened like 2 or 3 hours ago. And I really wanted to discuss it because I think that it's an interesting topic. Just because of how Bob Iger has really made a lot of decisions relating to, franchises that we all love, and some good that he has done for the company, but obviously some, maybe even a lot of bad that he has done for the company. We're also going to discuss the Batman set photos that were leaked. Now, the other day, I believe it was like Thursday, when I did the last discussion stream, we had talked about it because they had just leaked. But now that people are not getting videos taken striked down due to it, I thought that I would show you guys the photos and really talk to you about my initial thoughts on this next Batman. And I also really wanted to talk about Birds of Prey. I have talked about Birds of Prey a couple of times. If you are new here, welcome. Birds of Prey was awful. It was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Just because of the messages behind it and kind of the anti-man, woman power themes that they had in it, which I really disliked. I do have a full kind of video review on my thoughts on the movie, which you can go and search Birds of Prey on the channel and it will pop up. But I wanted to discuss how people are saying this movie may have not have been, a $1 billion box office film, but it may get a sequel. People are really pushing for a sequel for the movie. The people that obviously liked it and the people that obviously want it to have positive press. So I thought that we could maybe joke around a little bit with the rumors that there will be a sequel, because honestly, if there's a sequel, I won't see it. I was on the fence with, seeing Birds of Prey and giving that the benefit of the doubt because I truly did not want to see it. But I did, and it was a pretty freaking terrible movie. So those are the topics that we are going to be discussing tonight. But before we start getting into the articles and the topics, I hope that you are all doing well. I hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend. It is already Tuesday. My stream schedule got a little bit messed up this week, but we will be streaming tonight, obviously. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing Titan's Table Magic the Gathering Edition, and then Thursday or Friday, I will be doing Super Metroid. So that is the stream schedule for the week. But I will chat with you guys. LOL, a sequel? Yes. People are saying, even though this movie didn't make a lot of money, it was great, and it deserves a sequel. I personally think that we should not see a sequel. I think that the movie was pretty bad. I don't think that the characters themselves were awful. I think that they could be reworked and brought into a sequel. Though I have really no hope for how it could be. I really truly think that we should just forget about Birds of Prey. Let Harley Quinn be in the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn is doing, and then we can just forget about Birds of Prey. You know what? I'll give them a chance to just let us forget about Birds of Prey, because honestly, it was pretty messy. Wasn't the best thing. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it definitely was not the best. Definitely. DC doesn't seem to understand the concept of character development. I don't necessarily think that it's a DC problem, because we see a lot of movies now just kind of pushing whatever characters they want without that proper character development, but I do think that DC does struggle with it quite a bit. I still prefer DC over Marvel. I'm a woman of class. I prefer DC, but that's just me. I haven't seen it, but seems to me the box office wouldn't justify it. Yeah, Birds of Prey really hasn't made that much money. It obviously has made its money back, and it's done okay. You would expect it to at least do okay, but it definitely isn't hitting hitting the numbers that even the lowest Star Wars movie has. Well, how much did Solo make? I guess I'm forgetting about Solo. I guess that's unfair. To each their own. DC is cool, but I'm a Marvel fanboy till I die. I'm the opposite. I love DC. I feel like DC characters are just so much better. I'm waiting for the flood of downvotes. I personally prefer DC, but that's just me. Obviously, both kind of companies lately have made good movies. They've made bad movies. Solo lost money. Yeah, that's true. Poor Solo. You were a good character until they butchered you. It's a shame. Alright, you guys, I think that we should start on the first topic of the night, which is a Star Wars topic. EA has canceled yet another open world Star Wars game. Now, over the past couple of years, EA has obviously been making Star Wars games. They made Jedi Fallen Order, they made the 2 Battlefront games. But they were supposed to really have quite a few more Star Wars projects. This is the 3rd or 4th Star Wars game that they have canceled as of late, and this was supposed to be an open world game. I personally really like open world games. I'm a fan of them. Obviously, I really like games that are Star Wars based as well. I am someone that will, go out of my way to purchase a Star Wars game just because I love Star Wars so much, even though EA has a pretty bad reputation with them as of late. I do think that they have brought something to the table when it comes to Star Wars games, and if the Battlefront games weren't poorly monetized, I personally think that a lot of people would totally play them very often. I do think that they have good gameplay besides the microtransactions. But Electronic Arts has canceled its open-world Star Wars game, according to 3 people familiar with goings-on at the company. The game, announced alongside the shutdown of Visceral Games back in 2017, had been in development at EA's office in Vancouver. EA Vancouver, a large studio that mostly handles support for a variety of the publisher's games, including FIFA and Battlefront, 2 okay games, had been working on this open-world Star Wars game since October 2017, when EA closed Visceral Games. So they have been working on this project for 3 years at this point, and they decided to cancel it. Now, to me, I don't think that you would want to cancel a game that many years in unless you truly did not have any confidence in it. Because I feel like even though, games get canceled more often than that, I think that 3 years is a large gap of time. I wonder why they canceled it. Until then, Visceral, best known for its popular Dead Space horror series, was developing its own Star Wars game. That project, codenamed Ragtag, was a linear action-adventure game directed by Uncharted director Amy Hennig. Now, EA Vancouver has been assisting on the project, and when EA closed Visceral Games on October 17th, 2017, the Vancouver studio took it over. All these games, all of the small details that they're giving us, like the genre of games, like open world, an open world Star Wars game sounds really good. A linear action adventure Star Wars game sounds interesting. These sound like games that, just based off of the genre, I would totally be interested in. But it wouldn't be accurate to say that EA Vancouver's Star Wars was the same game as Ragtag. When EA Vancouver took over, it rebooted this Star Wars project entirely, keeping some of the art assets, but transforming it into an open world game. So they took the project, then they just decided to change it, which is okay. I don't think that a game switching hands is necessarily like something that is instantly going to kill the game, but obviously when people have worked on a project for so long and you rip them away from that project, it's not going to be the same, because they had obviously a vision, and then someone else is coming in, ripping it apart, stripping it down to its bare bones, and changing it. The music should be good, sorry. Now that that project is cancelled too, of course, EA had not shown any of EA Vancouver's open-world Star Wars game publicly, but the publisher talked about it when it announced Visceral's demise. It had become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we need to pivot the design. They, of course, mean they want a live service game where they can monetize it, update it, monetize it, update it. Every update comes with monetization. It's like the situation with Anthem. Anthem launched in a buggy and broken state. But they even said a couple of weeks ago, well, we hope to get it to the point that we want when it was supposed to launch. People don't want to buy a buggy and broken game and then have to wait 5 months to a year for it to be at the status that it should be in when it launches. No one wants to buy a $60 game like that. You can buy a different $60 game that is done and is fully theirs, is there for your enjoyment, not a half-assed project. The company said at the time, a development team from across EA Worldwide Studios will take over development of this game, led by a team from EA Vancouver that has already been working on the project. In June 2018, EA announced that it had expanded its Motive Studio, previously a single office in Montreal led by industry veteran Jade Raymond, to Vancouver's well-known location. That one would also be located in the publisher's large office in British Columbia as a division of EA Vancouver. On October 22nd, 2018, EA announced that it had installed executive Samantha Ryan to oversee Motive. Subsequently, Raymond left the company between 2016 and we are now at 2020. EA has undergone a lot. They've undergone a lot of people leaving the studios, a lot of people leaving the company, a lot of people changing hands with projects. And when, of course, like I said, a project gets moved from one person to another person to another person, the vision gets lost. And then you end up feeling, what is this game going to be? Should we truly put our time into this? Because you have one person's vision, another person's vision, and maybe they try to cater to both the third person that touches the game, but ultimately it just becomes a mishmash, and it would be more beneficial just to strip it or maybe even restart it. It's not clear what EA Vancouver's next game will be. We've heard it might be a different Star Wars project. So they are literally talking about the fact that they've canceled 2 Star Wars games and that their next project may yet, in fact, be another Star Wars game? Respawn, the Los Angeles-based studio responsible for Titanfall, not a bad game series in my opinion, is also making a Star Wars game called Jedi Fallen Order. That game is currently scheduled for fall 2019. Obviously, it has been updated. Obviously, Jedi Fallen Order has already come out, and they actually have announced that they are working on Jedi Fallen Order 2. Update. Since the publication of this article, I've talked to several more people familiar with EA Vancouver's now cancelled open-world Star Wars game. Of course, it's updated with more information. This project was codenamed Orca and was very clearly in early development, but would involve playing as a scoundrel or bounty hunter who could explore various open-world planets and work with different factions across the Star Wars universe. Please just give it to me! Playing as like a scoundrel or a bounty hunter, like traveling these different worlds, you know, collecting bounties, maybe doing side quests. This sounds so interesting to me. Why do we have to cancel these cool sounding games? When EA's top decision makers looked at their roadmap for the next few years, they decided that they needed something earlier than the planned release date for Orca, according to 2 people familiar with what happened. So they canceled Orca, get this, in favor of a smaller scale Star Wars project that's now aimed for much sooner, likely 2020, which also happens to be around the time that next-gen consoles will launch. Why? I don't want half-assed bullshit games. I would much rather them have taken an extra year. Let's say they released the game mid-2021. I would be okay with that if it was a full project. So you're telling me, you get this, this is what we're getting. You're telling me that they decided to scrap a game that sounds interesting and fascinating because it would take too long to make? No one wants half-assed, rushed games. We want full experiences. If you're planning on selling us a game for $60, it has to be a damn good experience. But you say, no, we need money now, so we need to have you cancel this project and rush out a new one? That's bullshit. To EA's credit, those people said the publisher did not lay anyone off as part of this transition. That's at least good. At least no one's getting laid off. They're just being moved to a different project. But that doesn't excuse you, EA. Okay, I'm just going to say it now because you guys can quote me. If a game that's Star Wars based releases at the end of 2020, I think that it is going to be half-assed and rushed. So in almost a year, in like 9 months, if we see a Star Wars game release, I'll probably play it. And if it's bad, I'm going to come back to this article and I'm going to say, EA, I told you so. This news comes from at time of cost cutting across the industry, as major publishers, including both EA and Activision, as we've reported. Some at the studio also hope that Orca might be restarted after this new project is finished. That's at least something that maybe they will revive this project after the game in 2020 comes out. But I personally don't think that they're going to do it because we've seen so many Star Wars projects fall off once the next game comes out. I'm going to assume that the game coming out later in 2020 to the end of 2020, if it's true, because this is just a rumor at this point, if it comes out, it will probably be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, because they have confirmed that they're doing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2. It's currently in development. They're getting ready for it. So I do think that that is the next Star Wars game that we will see. I personally don't like seeing games in a series back to back. I would rather there be like Jedi Fallen Order 1 and then maybe a different Star Wars project and then 2. I don't like having like 1, 2, 3 back to back. I would rather there be a little bit of time in between, maybe a game or maybe expansions. I do know that they are working, of course, on the Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO. They are working on the new expansion for that, which should be out mid to the end of the year, which they're also working on that. EA and BioWare do that, but that's no excuse. If you have a good project going, why would you cancel it? Because it would take too long to make. I would rather them take their time and not rush out a bad project. But that's all we know currently. EA has canceled another Star Wars game, and this one was supposed to be open world. To me, this is very disappointing to hear. I would much rather them release a good game. So that's all we know right now. Let me check chat for a moment. I almost would rather companies not release the fact that a game is going to maybe exist until it's already a solid amount through development. I agree, but all of these things in here, like the canceled EA games, these are all leaked. That's a thing. Is that a game could be just written on paper that they're going to make it and put a team on it, and usually it gets leaked. So we hear all of these canceled projects that maybe they wouldn't have officially announced. Like, they've officially announced Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, which they obviously are going to make, and it's obviously going to see the light of day because of how well the first one did. But to hear all of these canceled projects is personally very disappointing to me. Obviously, this is EA. I really don't expect much from EA anymore. I do think that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was a very good game. Maybe not worth $60. I did do a video review on it if you guys want to see that. I think that it's okay. It's a $30 to $40 game. Definitely not worth $60. I was hoping that they'd have multiplayer in it. But obviously, we get what we get, and we have to take what we can get from these companies. It's just disappointing for me, really, to hear these developers' stories. These developers have to constantly be put on a project and then it gets canceled. Sometimes you get laid off. Sometimes you get moved to yet another project. And it's just disappointing in my opinion. I'm awful at Jedi Fallen Order. I had live streamed a full playthrough and I personally really liked it. I did have problems with the last, like the master fight, like the fallen master fight, and then I had problems with Trilla at the end. But I really thought that the game was good. I thought that it was a good game, and I really hope that EA sticks with that. I hope that their next game is a really good game, and it's really not a disappointment. But obviously, I don't put anything past EA anymore. 8 p.m. EST? What's 8 p.m. EST? Oh, yes. Every live stream of mine starts at 7 p.m. Eastern or 8 p.m. Eastern. Titan's tables always start at 7 p.m. Eastern, but all of my other live streams during the week are 8 p.m. Eastern. Very fun. EA games monetize everything. Well, Jedi Fallen Order didn't have any horrid monetization, which is why I really liked it. I'm someone that likes linear story games, and I thought that they did a good job with it, honestly. I really do. Classic EA? Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Do you prefer the Nintendo Switch or PC as your gaming platform of choice? If it was between the Switch and the PC, I would definitely say the PC. I do really love my Nintendo Switch. I think that it's a great handheld, though PCs just have so much more potential. Also, what's your take on the next Xbox Series X? I think that it sounds okay. I want to see all of the specs compared to the PlayStation 5, but it sounds neat. Obviously, we know very little. We know like 12 teraflops. We know it's a custom SSD. We know it, has support for 120 FPS, but that's all that we really know right now. Star Trek or Star Wars? I think that's a difficult question because I do love both, but for different reasons. I really like Star Wars because it's a space opera. It's big and it's dramatic. I mean, look at the freaking sizes of their damn ships. Look at, things like the Death Star. I really do love Star Wars, but I really love Star Trek as well. I think that Star Trek kind of... They're two very different experiences, but I do love them both.
And almost forgot you were streaming.
Thank you, Ivan, for the $7.50 donation. I almost forgot you were streaming. Well, you made it. Thank you, thank you. You are the top donator and the top dominator right now. If anyone wants to beat him, here's the link. Feel free to beat him with $7.51. Thank you. I appreciate it. For me, it is a very hard question because I love both Star Wars and Star Trek for very different reasons. So, I mean, if you were to ask me, I would go on a whim and say Star Wars because there's also things like video games and there's also like, more comic series and whatnot, and it's difficult. I do love them both, so please don't force me to answer that. Please, please. I would appreciate it if I could not answer that properly. Alright, I think that we are going to move on to the next topic, which is a Disney topic. This happened just a couple of hours ago, which I thought was very interesting when it happened. I was actually pretty shocked when they announced this. But we have some current news on Bob Iger. So after 15 years at the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger has stepped down as the Disney CEO effective immediately. Now, over the past couple of years, there has been a lot of talk of them looking for a replacement for him, but that discussion had really quieted down. I feel like a year ago, we hadn't really, leading up to this, heard anything about them wanting to replace him. Obviously, it's been in talk for a long time, but this feels very, very sudden to me. Bob Iger steps down as Disney CEO effective immediately. Bob Iger, who served as CEO of the Walt Disney Company since 2005 and oversaw some of the company's biggest acquisitions, like Marvel and Lucasfilms, has stepped down from his executive role effective immediately. Replacing Iger is Bob Chapek, the former chairman of Disney Parks, Experiences, and Productions. Now, Bob Chapek is often blamed for the decline in guest experiences at the Disney parks. From what I've heard, he has not done the best job. Which is why I was very shocked to hear that they were replacing Bob Iger with Chapek. Yes, one Bob for another Bob. Iger was originally set to retire in the summer of 2018, but the board of directors extended Iger's contract until 2019 to oversee the acquisition of Fox and the launch of Disney+. That contract was extended even further until 2021, though as evidenced by today's news, Iger will not be serving the full extension as CEO. He has gotten his contracts renewed. I believe there's also one more time. I feel like there was one more time from 2017 to 2018. Either way, he has gotten his contract extended quite a few times. In a press release sent out today, the Walt Disney Company Board of Directors announced that Chapek will step into the CEO role starting today. Iger will remain with the company as executive chairman until December 31st, 2021. So he is obviously not just like getting the boot, getting kicked out, but why would they... I question, why would they move him to executive chairman so suddenly, right now? Why wouldn't they just switch him at the end of his contract at the end of 2021? Sounds a little bit suspicious to me. With the successful launch of Disney's direct-to-consumer businesses and the integration of 21st Century Fox well underway, I believe this is the optimal time to transition to a new CEO, Iger said in a statement. I have the utmost confidence in Bob and look forward to working closely with him over the next 22 months as he assumes his new role and delves deeper into Disney's multifaceted global business and operations while I continue to focus on the company's creative endeavors. This statement does not delve anything into the reason why he left, why they are moving him to a different position, why he's getting kind of downgraded to a different role. And this statement also was not made the moment that they announced it. This is actually a statement that he had made like an hour or two after they had initially announced that he was stepping down. Chapek has been with the Disney Company for nearly 3 decades, serving as the head of its parks, experiences, and products since 2018, and as a chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts since 2015. Aren't these things in decline? I feel like we've heard so many negative experiences with like the parks and experiences. Isn't he not doing great? And he oversaw the opening of the Shanghai Disney Resort, doubling the Disney Cruise Line fleet, and overseeing Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. How is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge doing lately? I feel like that hasn't been doing very good either. I am a little bit skeptical about this decision, honestly. Iger, who served as CEO of Disney since 2005, has defined his tenure with expansive growth for the company. So obviously, he has done some very successful things with the company. Let's look at these. He, of course, acquired the 2006 acquisition of Pixar for $7.4 billion, the 2009 acquisition of Marvel for $4 billion, the 2012 acquisition for Lucasfilms for $4.06 billion, and the $71.3 billion acquisition for 21st Century Fox in 2019. He has spent a lot of money for this company. I mean, that is a lot of money. Obviously, some of these things do have profited the company and have done really good. Like the acquisition of Marvel was a great grab, honestly. The grab of Pixar, it's done pretty good. Lucasfilms, they were lucky enough to be able to scoop up Lucasfilms. Iger also saw the launch of Disney's direct-to-consumer streaming service called Disney Plus. Now, Disney Plus has been a success so far, which the company plans to use as one-stop destination for all things Disney. For everything else, Disney also acquired a controlling stake in Hulu, where it plans to host content from other businesses like 20th Century Studios, which was formerly Fox. Now, I personally will not shed a single tear for Bob Iger. Obviously, as we can read, he's done some very successful things for the company. He's made some very successful purchases. Can Kathleen Kennedy be next? If we're just casually demoting people and, like, kicking them out of the company that Disney owns, can we get rid of Kathleen Kennedy next? Because Bob Iger, I'm not a big fan of. He's made some very interesting statements. He's done some very interesting things with people he's put in charge of these other, companies that Disney owns. Can Kathleen Kennedy go next? I'm just, from one girl to another, Kathleen, you're not great. Honestly. I just think this is very sudden, in my opinion. Yes, there's been a lot of talk over the years of him being replaced and him finally, like, retiring and stepping down, but if he had a contract until 2021, the end of it, why would they just, like, demote him now? And why would he step down now? It just seems very odd, in my opinion. Obviously, he's staying with the company for now. At the end of 2021, we have no clue if he will completely leave the company. But I don't shed a tear for him, because he is someone that in 2018 made $48 million, and in 2019 he made like $53 million. So I think that he's got enough money, and I think that he's done enough with the company. How dare Vara betray her kind, betray the women folk and the redheads. I mean, okay, put an X in chat if you don't like Kathleen Kennedy. Put an X in chat if you wouldn't care if Kathleen Kennedy left Lucasfilms. I think that she's done more harm than good when it comes to Star Wars, in my opinion. Some people might not agree. That's perfectly fine. But I would be okay with, her leaving. And I'm okay with Bob Iger leaving. My problem with Bob Iger is that he's made a lot of iffy statements. He really doesn't care about what fans want. He doesn't care about those things. That's my big problem with him. As long as you don't insult the fans, you can basically say whatever you want. Also, thank you everyone for the X's in chat. I very much so appreciate them. I'm glad it's not just me. But it was just a little bit shocking to hear. I just wasn't expecting him to step down effective immediately. Everyone in chat, what are your thoughts on Bob Iger stepping down? Did you see this coming? Were you expecting it? Does this feel a little bit sudden to you? Put a thumbs up in the chat if you want George Lucas to do one last film. My problem with George Lucas is that he gave up Star Wars. He just wanted the money. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. He, created a lot of films. He had done a lot of hard work. And that was his choice. I feel a little bit sad that Lucasfilms is now owned by Disney. A little bit sad, because Disney is starting to scoop up everything that they can, and they have been doing that the past couple of years. Sudden but typical. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Give him a gold watch and a ticket to Mars. See you later, my friend. Don't care, to be honest. Fair enough. What will she do with all those extra The Force is Female shirts? Guys, do they sell The Force is Female shirts online? Hold on. Because if they do, I need one. T-shirt. No. T-shirt. Is there like an officially stamped and sealed? Oh, there's one for $16 on Etsy. It's like the Star Wars logo, and it says The Force is Female. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I need one. Oh no. I don't really want to spend my money on that, but I mean, I'm interested. The Force is Female stuff is silly, in my opinion. I think the Force should be whoever has the Force. Can't the Force just be the Force? Is it so hard to ask for? You need to get one, Vara. See, the problem is if I really wore it, like, in a video and I didn't explain what, like what it was or, like, why I was wearing it, people would be so confused. There are, for $15.99 online, there are the Forces female shirts. I should buy one, scoop one up. It'll be on brand. Guys, do you think if I wear one, maybe Star Wars or Lucasfilms will sponsor me? You think so? Is that all I have to do, is wear a t-shirt? I wouldn't accept their money anyway at this point. It's Star Wars. Yeah, that would be great, but this isn't the Disney that you grew up with, kids. It really isn't, unfortunately. I'm also curious, have any of you watched there's only one episode, the first episode of the final season of the Clone Wars? I haven't talked about it. Donate $5 to Dark Titan so Vara can get the Forces female t-shirt. Oh, I appreciate your shilling for me, Leon. I do very much so appreciate it. Cautiously optimistic on the High Republic stuff just announced by Lucasfilms. I have not actually talked about the High Republic stuff. I actually did want to talk about that. Let me actually bring that up. We really don't know much right now about it and what they want to do with it. But there was... okay, so this is the post. On the official Star Wars website, there actually was a post that I wanted to read, which was the next topic that I was going to bring up. So, they have finally unveiled what they are doing next with Star Wars, and it is going to be Star Wars: The High Republic. It was called Project Luminous, and we finally heard about it. They finally announced it. I'm also just a tad bit skeptical. There are a lot of things that they've done with this so far that we know that seems interesting. For over 1,000 years, generations, we know the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in a galaxy far, far away. And this summer, we'll step into the era known as the High Republic, when the lightsaber-wielding Force users were at the height of their power. Now, in case you don't know, High Republic was set 200 years before Phantom Menace, I believe. Yeah, it's 200 years before that storyline. I thought that it was a little bit closer to the Old Republic, but I guess that it's not. It's quite a bit away, because, like, between the Old Republic era and, like, the Star Wars movies, it's like 2,000 years or so. So this is closer to the movies. So these are some of the things that we have learned. Cavan Scott asked the one question that kicked the entire project into high gear. During a special retreat to the grounds of the Skywalker Ranch about 18 months ago, the 5 authors and members of Lucasfilm's publishing and story group met to hatch the idea that would become Project Luminous, or Star Wars: The High Republic. The team, they knew, wanted to explore a story featuring Jedi as we'd never seen them before. But it was Scott who asked the question that sparked off the original storytelling idea. What scares the Jedi? And that was the moment that set the tone for what was to come. Scott will helm the new Marvel series, Star Wars: The High Republic, focusing on a newly minted Jedi surrounded by legends on a space station called the Starlight Beacon, he says. And at the event, the team debuted some concept art that might hint to the answer to Scott's question, and it's a band of anarchist marauders. It's always gotta be something. We always need a title. Now, the authors had input into what the characters would look like and saw those diverse ideas come to life through concept art. I am so sick of diverse and diversity being a key word. In the first few pieces of concept art released, we've already seen an imaginative array of Jedi with cross guards and double-bladed sabers, young men and women of all kinds of species ready to defend the galaxy. Justina, who will write the middle grade novel A Test of Courage, dealing with the fallout of a great disaster, says it was gratifying to see her character descriptions come to life. It's from all of these different perspectives. It gives you a richer galaxy. It gives you something that feels authentic and lived in, which is the most important thing when you're building a world, especially building out a world that people haven't seen. I am so very excited for all of the characters we're introducing and had to have input on that. Now I am going to show you guys a picture. A picture. Don't we love pictures that I had actually tweeted yesterday, so if you guys do not follow my Twitter, you should definitely go and follow that because I do post quite often about topics. But there was actually, for the announcement trailer, an image that was in the trailer that, of course, highlights things that they really wanted to put in the series. Now, why don't we just look at this for a moment? Under fiction, authentically lived in. Okay, surprise. Okay, story element. Diversity. Bing, right on the whiteboard. Diversity is higher on the list than an actual ending. Feelings, relatable characters, and being just epic. And under the Star Wars wishes, it says High Republic, story element, relic hunters, dinosaurs. Do we need to throw dinosaurs into everything? And then representation / diversity. Now, I am okay, as I've always said, with representation and diversity. I have no problems whatsoever with shows having a diverse cast and there being, females and people of color. I'm all for that. But forced diversity and forced representation, like this, where they're specifically writing around that factor, in my opinion, is what I don't like to see. And under the middle, not pro-war. I thought Star Wars was about Star Wars. What? War is literally in the name of the franchise. And look all the way at the bottom. Look all the way at the bottom. Okay, not pro-war. The Force is literally the last thing on the list. Literally, the Force is the last thing on the list. Now, I do like a lot of things that are on this list, honestly. I really like there being, like High Republic, relic hunters, like chaos agents, rival houses. I really like the fact that they want to make it feel authentically lived in, have that surprise factor, making sure that it has an actual ending, that it really doesn't leave off on a cliffhanger. I am okay with all of these things. But when you put diversity multiple times on the board, you can tell that's one of the only things that you truly thought of when going into this project. So that's all that I really wanted to talk about with that. We really don't know much about the next generation that they're going into. Star Wars, the High Republic. I personally think that it sounds pretty cool. This book does sound interesting. This novel, it does release at the end of the year, and I probably will read it. I've read most of the Star Wars novels. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this series, but they have also said that yes, they are going to be making 2 adult-based novels, but they are also going to be making 2 mid-age novels for, teenagers, like mid-grade levels. So it sounds like they really want to appeal more to younger audiences, which I understand that's what they want to do because they want to maintain this rating, be able to sell these things to younger audiences. But are they going to truly forget about the fans that really love and care about Star Wars? So that's all that I wanted to talk about with that. I think that we are done with the Star Wars topics for the night. But I'm curious to see what else is going to happen. The next topic that I want to discuss is Batman. Let me check chat for a minute before we do this. Okay, Batman, you are large and in charge. Okay, we need to fix this a little bit. There you go. Now you guys can actually read it. Not excited. I don't think they will handle anything well as Disney hasn't at all. Understandable. Fine if you enjoy it, but they just scrapped that already built universe. I'm out, I'll keep my old stuff. I personally agree. I really like when... I really like that I can just hold on to what I love about Star Wars and not really have to acknowledge, the new with Star Wars. I don't think that, writing diversity on a whiteboard necessarily means that it's ruined and that we should boycott it and that it's going to be awful. I don't think that. But my problem is the fact that they are going into this project, and the first thing that was on their mind, as they said during the interview and the announcement, was representation and diversity. I don't think that those are necessarily bad things. I just really hope that they write them properly and that they show them on the big screen in whatever form of media they do properly that doesn't force anything onto the readers. Strangely, I'm not hyped at all about the new Batman film. That's actually interesting to hear because I personally am pretty excited for this movie. Obviously, I am a huge DC fan. I love DC. I love Batman, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. I mean, all of these characters I do really love, which is why I feel like I'm always looking for the next Batman. I am always interested in what the next Batman is going to do and the stories he's going to go in, and especially with this one because they're going for more of the detective Batman with the series. Dude, terrible costume that you haven't even gotten to it yet. Whew. So Ben Affleck is not Batman anymore. It is Robert Pattinson, the man that played Edward in Twilight. He also was recently in The Lighthouse, which if you think, okay, I'm just going to say before we get into the article, if you think that Robert Pattinson is a bad actor because you're relating him back to Harry Potter and Twilight, that time, I would definitely watch The Lighthouse and then rearrange your thoughts on him because he did a really good job in that. Alright, Batsy time, boys and girls. Filming on Matt Reeves' The Batman, the first Bat-centric film to break from the Snyderverse continuity, is well underway. Judging by photos of the production testing out its new Bat costume and a new Bat bike on the set in Glasgow, Scotland. This is an even better look at the production's Batman aesthetic that was recently revealed in a video of star Robert Pattinson all suited up. Now, the trailer that they're talking about in the video, he really looked like Daredevil. It was like a dark room. He had like red lights all around him. He looked like Daredevil. Total Daredevil vibes. But we finally have pictures, leaked photos from the set of what he is going to look like. The initial video only gave fans a show pan of the costume's chest and cowl, though it did fuel speculation that the bat symbol on his chest was literally made of guns. So cheesy. So cheesy. Today, photographer snapped a Pattinson double in full kit, zipping around the catacombs on a bat-shaped motorcycle. Now, this is not Robert Pattinson. This is his stunt double. I would like to make that very clear, because he might look a little bit different in the outfit. But why don't we look... I can't stop laughing. Why don't we look at the full suit and see what we think? The motorcycle sport swept back the bat ears as they would surely be incredibly painful if you came to a sudden stop, while the full costume has some surprising additions. Wrist guards that appear to be full of some kind of bolt or projectile, the ears on the cowl taper to be a quite slender point, and the whole outfit seems to be more pieced together from repurposed tactical items than created from the ground up. Why don't we zoom this out just a tiny bit? There we go. Oof. I don't like this, and I think that it looks cheesy. Now, there are things with this outfit that I really like. This costume has a lot that I like. I really like the chest area. I really like the shoulder pads. What I don't like are the armbands. I really don't like the projectiles that he has. I think that it looks very big, very bulky. His suit itself is very big and very bulky. It does look very tactile, and I will give it that, because we don't know what this Batman's going to entail. They've said that they are going for more of a more detective Batman and Bruce Wayne, but I don't get detective vibes from this. I really truly think that this looks like Ben Affleck's Batman. It really does. I feel like it's very tactile. I'm not sure. I think that the bat is cheesy. The Batman symbol on his chest, it's literally like two guns, it looks like, melted into it. No. No thank you. I'll pass. But it doesn't look bad overall. I actually personally don't hate the cowl. I know that a lot of you guys are saying that, like, the cowl is awful. You guys really don't like it. I don't necessarily think that it's bad. He has no cape. Yes, I think that he should have a cape. I think that every superhero should have a cape, though, in my opinion. I think the cape adds pizzazz. Looks like he's going in for the army rather than going for stealth. I agree. If they were going for, like, a big and better Batman that maybe, you know, uses more explosives and is very, you know, forward with the way that he acts, okay, I can see that. But from the images that we've seen, like the official spoilers, like the Daredevil-esque video, and from what we've heard from Matt Reeves, it doesn't sound like this really works, in my opinion. I'm not sure. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it, because I think that it's interesting. I just maybe don't think that this is what I expected, but I will give it the benefit of the doubt. I am still pretty damn excited to see the movie. I'm very curious to see what else they're going to do with him as Batman, and I don't want to say that it looks awful, because we really don't know how he's going to act, what type of Batman he's going to be. I think that it's interesting, though, and I think that it could turn out to be cool. I like to keep a positive outlook on things, and these are only leaked pictures. We don't know the context of the scene. Maybe this is like a second Batsuit. Maybe he has multiples. I doubt it, but try to give it the benefit of the doubt, my friends. Just for me. For me. All right. So the last topic that I wanted to discuss for the night was Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey was trash. Birds of Prey was awful. Birds of Prey was not good. It was a no from me. I did a full video review with kind of my thoughts on the problems that I had with it. But there are people that are trying to push so hard for Birds of Prey, saying, you know, maybe it didn't make the most money, but it was still an amazing movie. And CBR posted an article titled, Birds of Prey could still get a sequel. Please don't waste your time on making a sequel. Please don't. Don't waste your time. Just make something new and fresh. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipations of One Harley Quinn, even though they changed the name to Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey or whatever, has crossed the $100 million mark globally, surpassing its relatively small production budget of $84.5 million. It has barely passed its production budget. And they're saying it's relatively small production budget. I get that there are movies with like $500 million production budgets, like these huge, insane production budgets. But $84.5 million is not relatively small. While it didn't meet the box office expectations and has not yet broken even, most films need to make twice their budget to do so, this does not mean a sequel is out of the question. I am going to say it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think a movie's necessarily bad just because it doesn't reach its box office expectations. My problem is the fact that most people didn't like this movie. I didn't like this movie. I thought it was pretty bad in my opinion. But this doesn't mean a sequel is out of the question. While some are deeming Birds of Prey a failure, this is not fair. It has currently grossed a fraction of what the most successful superhero films have made. However, when compared to movies in general, it is on track to becoming a success. On track. On track and being a success are two very different things. You're either a success or you're not a success. And obviously, Birds of Prey hasn't been out for too long. It could still make money, though we've seen the numbers very harshly decline every weekend since it launched. It's ridiculous that a box office of $150 million plus is considered a disappointment, especially when Birds of Prey has one of the smallest budgets of any film in the DCEU and has received mainly positive reviews. It's not receiving mainly positive reviews, first of all. Second of all, now we know why their outfits were so trash, because they put money into everything else except the freaking outfits. Yes. Unfortunately, $150 million is considered a disappointment. But that is just the way that the industry works. It always needs to be bigger and better. When they make a movie, they want it to make more money. Then they go into, another movie and they expect it to start off with X, Y, and Z. That's just how it works. I mean, even looking at video games, they expect more copies to sell. They have number one, it draws fans in. They make two, it makes even more money than one. It gets more people, playing one. That's just how the industry works, and if you don't like that, then you probably shouldn't be talking about the industry. You could talk about the industry being unfair, the industry setting very, very high expectations, unrealistic expectations for directors and, the production teams. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about the overall bigger picture instead of saying, this movie's good, I liked it, why don't you like it? Just because it didn't make enough money doesn't mean it doesn't deserve a sequel. Why don't you talk about the bigger picture? By all means, Birds of Prey could get a sequel, especially with another average performing films have gotten spin-offs. The Shazam spin-off, Black Adam, was confirmed prior to the release of the first film, despite no one knowing how well it would do at the time. People had expectations. They look at projected sales numbers. They have an analyst come up with projected sales numbers. And they even said that movie blew the projected sales numbers out of the park. Of course they're going to make a spin-off. Plus they wanted to add Black Adam into the universe for quite a long time. It's not that shocking. Furthermore, Shazam has a sequel lined up despite the film's modest box office in comparison to other superhero films. The difference is that Birds of Prey did not have an overwhelmingly positive review. People really did not like Birds of Prey. Yes, there are people that liked it, and that's perfectly fine. But the thing was that Shazam didn't receive a lot of bad ratings. It really didn't have a lot of negativity surrounding it because people were very excited for it and people liked it. It didn't throw any, agendas in your face and say anti-men, men are bad, only good women are good. Like, they didn't do that with Shazam, and that's why it did okay. And that's why they instantly lined up a sequel, because it sold well, and it didn't have a lot of negative reviews surrounding it. It even has a third film queued up regardless of how the sequel turns out. You can tell that they're upset that Birds of Prey does not already have a confirmed sequel. Yet before Birds of Prey, it was the lowest grossing film in the DCEU with a global take of $225 million against a budget of $100 million. They still made their money back and more. Okay, if Birds of Prey can make what Shazam made, then you guys deserve a sequel. How about that? But right now, Birds of Prey is not at those numbers. Birds of Prey is barely over the $115 million mark. Suicide Squad, despite earning decent box office, was critically panned, and audiences deemed it average at best. Regardless of the film's flaws, Harley is often seen as one of its saving graces. Margot Robbie's performance is so phenomenal that she is one of the few returning characters to the Suicide Squad reboot and earned the Birds of Prey spin-off. She was scheduled for the Suicide Squad before Birds of Prey even released. And the reason why, the Birds of Prey characters aren't in the Suicide Squad reboot is because they're not, critical characters to the story. Is that so hard to understand? So Warner Brothers clearly has faith in its characters, even if they aren't breaking records at the box office. As long as audiences seem to enjoy them, chances are that these characters are going to continue to appear on screen. That is the case for Shazam, and it seems it will still be the case for Harley Quinn even after Birds of Prey. All they do is complain about Birds of Prey. It needs a sequel. I personally think that Birds of Prey doesn't deserve a sequel, but that's just my opinion. Let me finish the last little part. Films that have performed worse financially and critically have received sequels. Birds of Prey is only 3 weeks into its theatrical run and will continue to make money in theaters for at least a few more weeks. So it's possible a sequel could happen since the movie's on track to break even, delivers memorable performances, and has pleased most critics and fans. I don't think that it's pleased most critics and fans. I think that a lot of people have said this movie is very bad. A lot of people do not like this movie. I think that it is perfectly okay if you like this movie. Let me be clear. I'm not attacking this writer. I think that it is perfectly okay to like a movie. But to say, well, movies have done worse, so why can't this movie that I like get a sequel compared to a movie that I don't like that got a sequel? It's like this person is angry that the movie they like isn't getting a sequel. So I personally don't think that Birds of Prey deserves a sequel. Obviously, though, if it makes $200, $300, $400 million, then it does deserve a sequel, because then enough people are seeing it and it does have a lot of fan enjoyment and a lot of people did like it. But right now I'm really just not seeing that with Birds of Prey. Put an X in chat if you think Birds of Prey does not deserve a sequel, or put an X in chat if you would not go to see a Birds of Prey sequel. Some of you may have not even seen Birds of Prey when it launched. Some of you may have not gone and seen it, which is perfectly fine. I think that's perfectly fine if you didn't see it. But those are my thoughts on Birds of Prey. Those are the topics that I wanted to discuss tonight. We covered EA canceling another open world Star Wars game, Bob Iger stepping down as the Disney CEO. We discussed Batman, we discussed High Republic, and we also discussed Birds of Prey. So now I will go into the Q&A portion of the live stream and chat with you guys for a few minutes. Thank you guys for all of your responsive X's. I do very much so appreciate them. You guys are awesome. If you have not seen yesterday's video, please go and give that a watch. I discussed Kevin Feige, discussing how if he didn't get diversity in the MCU, he would leave and quit Marvel. Nothing but tragedy tonight. I don't think that Batman's tragedy. I think that Batman has a lot of potential, and I am pretty excited to see what they're going to do with Batman. I hope that, the rumors with EA kind of reviving the projects would be true. After they finish Jedi Fallen Order 2, I really do truly hope that they go back and that they work on the open world projects again. I just really want developers to be able to finish projects. That's my one problem, is if you didn't schedule a game for 10 years, okay. But when you schedule a game and force developers to stop working on it when they are, really deep into it and they're a couple of years into the project, that's what I personally don't like. And that is why I wanted to talk about it. I like your stuff already. You come off very articulate and the pace of your speaking is smooth. Well, thank you. I am very glad that you enjoy me and my content. I do appreciate it. I can't wait to see who replaces Kevin when he steps down. I would be interested to see who would replace him. I hope that Kathleen Kennedy is the next to go. We have Bob Iger out. We have Kathleen Kennedy. She needs to go. I'm not sure, honestly, how I feel about Bob Chapek replacing Bob Iger, just because he doesn't have the best reputation, but he has been with Disney for 3 decades. So I hope that things go okay. But I suppose we will have to see. Let me check. Chat for a moment. Vara covered a lot tonight. Usually I cover 4 to 5 topics during the discussion streams. Usually. That's at least what I try to cover. Birds of Prey is not woke. Stop it, all of you. I would disagree with that. I think that Birds of Prey is very woke. The problem that I have with Birds of Prey, as I've said, is it's very anti-male. The character development is awful in my opinion. I'm just really not a fan of what they did to Harley Quinn, and how, you know, she acts. I think that Margot Robbie is a amazing actress. I think that she is very good, and I do think that she can play a much better Harley and a much better character. Though I just think that the writing was pretty bad. I think their outfits look like garbage, and that was very disappointing as well. I would not argue if Iger takes Johnson and Kennedy with him. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're still part of the company for now. I mean, Bob Iger isn't completely out. He is still going to be part of Disney until the end of 2021. Though I would be very happy with them leaving. I think that Kathleen Kennedy honestly could still save her reputation and could possibly do good with Star Wars. But I feel like with this High Republic announcement, I'm especially skeptical on what they're doing with Star Wars and what they're publishing. Just a little bit worried. But alright, you guys, I am going to end the live stream here. Thank you all so much for stopping by tonight. I do very much so appreciate it. If you are not already supporting the channel, please consider supporting the channel by subscribing. If you enjoyed this live stream, please make sure to give it a like. And of course, if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way. If you are not already, please consider becoming a Dark Titan. You can for just $1 a month. It does help out the content a lot and helps me out a lot to create the content that you guys like. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be doing a Titans Table Magic the Gathering edition. So if you want to stop by for that, of course you can. If you are all are not already part of the Discord, please make sure to join the Discord server. We are very active there. But yes, thank you guys so much for stopping by tonight, and have a fantastic night, everybody.